But yeah, so I do love 32-bit float audio levels from 32-bit float recordings. 32-bit float recorder, 32-bit float, 32-bit float, 32-bit float, dead cat, so that you don't need to harm your pets. 32-bit float is not gonna save you. The Comica VM40 is a shotgun microphone. It can be used also as a wireless microphone with this receiver. You can even use two of them with one receiver. And most of all for me, it's also a 32-bit float recorder and records internally. And why to call it in the title a game changer? Well, it's because as far as I'm aware, there's nothing else in the market like this. I would like to thank Comica for sending me this microphone after I paid full price for it to Amazon. So I suppose that thanks to me, myself and I, and my day job who paid for the microphone. And today's video is sponsored by nobody. Again, still. The most important question, I suppose, is how does it sound? Well, your hearing to it is right here, out of frame. It's about 30 centimeters from me. And as you know, or as you should know, microphone placement is way more important than microphone quality. If I would put this far, hidden, obstructed, that would be a problem. And a much less quality microphone, but well placed, would sound good. So now this is well placed, so how does it sound when it's properly placed? Then what's the fuss with 32-bit float? Well, I'll explain what it is in a moment, again, I suppose, but what I can tell you is that it makes my life easier, and that's worth it. How does it make my life easier? I can forget about the gain. I know that this will not clip. I know that if it's too low or if it's too loud, I can fix it in post and it's going to be okay. Also, if you're interested in how to sync automatically different audio and video files in DaVinci Resolve, I could make a video about that, and also on how do I then deal with normalizing the audio levels from 32-bit float recordings. Let me know if you're interested in the comments. And I can already hear a few of you saying like, oh yeah, but if you clip the microphone, 32-bit float is not going to save you. That is true, but this microphone, like many others really, has a sensitivity that goes all the way to 130 dB SPL. Translated into human terms, that means that that's the noise that the jet engine makes just a few meters away from you. If you're recording the type of situations, you probably should know what you're doing. It's going to be really, really hard, really, really difficult to clip this microphone. And it's actually pretty hard to clip many microphones. What usually we are clipping is not the microphone, is the recorder, is the AD converter, but usually it's not the microphone. Simplifying really much what 32-bit float is and works, now imagine that this is the dynamic range of the microphone, all of it. That's all what the microphone is capable of listening, from the really low levels up to the really, really loud noises before the microphone itself clips. Now, with traditional recording, we have a much more limited range on what we're able to record. That means that we need to choose which part of the dynamic range of the microphone we are actually recording. And that's what gain does, really. Gain is saying, listen to the really loud noises, and if we lose the low ones, that's a decision we're making, or listen to the really low noises, and then if something is louder than that, it's going to clip, but we have to live with it. 32-bit float, it kind of flips the equation around. The dynamic range of what can be recorded is now larger than what the microphone is capable of, therefore gain is irrelevant, and considering the limits of this microphone's operations, basically we can record anything and it will never clip, almost, in practice. But yeah, so I do love 32-bit float, makes my life easier. I've had the Zoom F2, no longer had it. I have the Zoom F3. I'm strongly considering getting the Zoom H1 Essentials, just because the H1N is what still helps this channel grow. But then this Comica VM40, it brought a different element of 32-bit floatness, a different form factor and a different thing. Zoom has something a little bit similar, but it's just uglier. So now back to the Comica. Does it come in a case? Yes, it does. It's this gigantic case. It's really big. It's huge. I think it's a bit oversized, to be honest. And here what we have, let me open it. We have manuals, papers, cables. There's a foam thingy protector. Then there is a dead cat, so that you don't need to harm your pets in the windy days. That's really practical. Then we have a couple of connectors and cables that I have not opened because I'm not plugging this microphone anywhere. On the lower shelf of this is where the microphone goes here. Here is the shock mount, which is now mounted right there. Then the receiver goes here. I'll put it back because I never use it. And then one adapter spigot to mount this into bigger microphone stands where you can mount the shock mount into this thing. So gigantic case, orange handle, my favorite color, so that's nice, but a little bit overkill. And why don't I use a receiver? The audio that I'm recording right now on the ZV-1, it's good enough as scratch audio to sync afterwards. If I would be using the receiver, the audio I'm recording in the ZV-1 or whatever camera you're using is not 32-bit float. That's important to remember. Internally, it records 32-bit float. Once you transmit it to your camera will record whatever it can, but it's no longer 32-bit float audio. So if I want 32-bit float, I'll record internally anyway, so why send it if I have easy ways to sync? And DaVinci Resolve auto syncing makes it very, very easy. They do sell a bigger kit with 2 microphones, 1 receiver in a very similar case. It might be the same one or the same size with just a different foam structure internally, but I would have much preferred to have a third package. So right now they sell the microphone or transmitter and 1 receiver, or 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. I would have loved a bit cheaper package with just the microphone, maybe one, either the foam or the dead cat, but maybe not 2, and the shock mount and nothing else. Maybe if somebody wants to buy the receiver, you can do it separately, but I just don't need it. So I paid a little bit more for things that I'm not going to be using. The microphone though, useful, kind of beautiful. So how will I use it? Well, right now is the main situation. This is just boom, let's show it. So this is a pretty common situation where this is just boomed up here on a microphone stand without cables, which is a nice thing for me. And another way of using this microphone, which I don't know if it's cool or not, but I've seen it in a few reviews, is using it as a newscaster microphone. Just hold it like this. You could interview somebody. Hello, how are you doing? You didn't say anything, but it's okay. I hope you're doing fine. That's a different use case. I am a little bit worried of the handling noise because I don't think it's designed for the purpose. This is designed to be mounted elsewhere, but this is another possible way of using this microphone. And this works well because it doesn't need cables, either because you use it like me in 32-bit float internal recording, or like some other folks that are going to be using the wireless functionality. It does have a couple of filters that can be activated with the 1 button that is there. In order to turn on the recording, you need to push and hold the record button for a couple of good seconds. It feels a bit long, and I thought I would hate the functionality, but it actually feels quite safe because I don't feel that accidentally I could turn it on or off. So that's totally fine. Then to turn it on is one of the buttons. You hold it. Then the buttons the buttons will have or activate some of the wireless functionality, which again, I don't have use for it, but if you do, that's there, which is great. And in order to transfer the files from the microphone to your computer, you need to turn it on in mass storage mode. When I read the instructions, for some reason it felt more difficult than it is. When the microphone is off, if you turn it on pushing 1 button, it turns on normally. You can record, you can use it as wireless transmitter. If you turn it on pushing both buttons, then it turns on with the mass storage. You just connect it in the computer via USB-C cable, and it will appear as a drive. Just copy the files, and that's it. It does have a gain knob in the back, which I have absolutely no use for it. Once again, this is for when you do not have the 32-bit float functionality. So this gain will affect the gain from the microphone that is being transmitted to the receiver plugged into your camera. And usually you need to mix and match both the gain of the input of the camera and the gain of the microphone to make sure that you're not clipping the audio, to make sure that your voice sits at around, is it -6 or -12? I don't remember anymore because I don't care. I don't use it. I don't need the gain button because I just record in 32-bit float and I will fix things afterwards if I need to. What does this replace? This could replace a shotgun microphone and a 32-bit float recorder, like let's say a Rode NTG 1, 2, 3, 4, one of those, and a Zoom F3 as a package. It replaces the XLR cable because this does not have XLR. So if you're looking for that, that's not the option for you. But maybe that's the kind of stuff that it replaces. But I guess the question is, am I keeping it? Yes, I'm keeping it. Would I recommend it? Definitely yes. If you like shotgun microphones, because they are, this is the purpose, to have a microphone that is right outside of the frame that will pick up directionally audio from a voice very nicely. If you prefer a podcast style microphone that is in front of you, then this might not be for you. For vloggers, I think this will work well. Many people might want to just plug it into the camera, either directly or using the wireless thing. For me, if I would use this for vlogging purposes, I would mount it on top of the camera, but I would still record externally, no cables, and then sync in post. If I'm having a 32-bit float recording device, I'm gonna take as much advantage of it as possible. And the question for you is, are you considering this? How did this sound? Are you already a user of 32-bit float devices? Do you have the need for a shotgun microphone, which is a recorder as well? And are you gonna buy the one with 1 or the one with 2? Let me know down below.